What is up, everybody? WaffleDragon34 here, and I just bought this guitar on the used market thanks to a very generous donation from my community. And I figured now is a good time to kind of talk to you guys about buying used guitars, because I've been doing it for a couple of years now, and I've learned there are a lot of nuances to it. So, this video is just a brief overview of how to find guitars used, how to approach buying them, and how to pick them up or get them safely. On top of that, my good friend Hector will be joining us at the very end of the video to be discussing trading guitars, which I have no experience on, but he has much experience on. So you guys stick around to the end to hear some words from the master himself. Now then, for step one, basically you gotta figure out what you're looking for. And I usually put this into two camps. Either you're looking for a guitar that works and doesn't require any issues, which I call a ready-to-play guitar, or you're looking for a guitar that is a project guitar. Now, a ready-to-play guitar is basically a guitar that works, doesn't have any major issues, you don't need to change much about it. Basically, the second you give the guy the money and you get the guitar, it is ready to play. A project guitar is essentially a guitar that you are buying knowing you're going to have to do some repairs, some fixes, maybe rewire a couple of things. You know that you needed work on this guitar before you are ready to play it. Perfect example is my 1999 Hector Revenger. I'll throw a photo on of what this used to look like before I purchased it, but I was looking for a 7-string project guitar, and it just so happened that this came up on my feed on Reverb, and I picked her up, and honestly, it was a great deal. So that's kind of what I'm talking about in terms of project guitars. A ready-to-play guitar would be more along the lines of this 1994 Jackson Rhodes that I picked up pretty recently. This guitar was perfectly fine, no major issues, a couple of dings and scratches, which are common for Rhodes models, but once I bought it, I plugged it in, worked out well. I did some rewiring because I wanted to do some rewiring, but other than that, she's ready to play. Now then, once you've decided what you're going for, either a project guitar or a ready-to-play guitar, you have to decide on your budget. Now, this can change, and it obviously will change as you go along the buying process, but it's always good to have an idea in your head of what you're really going to be looking for. Great way to do this is to look at similar listings of the same guitars, or have a tracker set up. Reverb.com, which we'll discuss in a little bit, has built-in price tracking for most guitars, and it's honestly a pretty good way of tracking, if you're getting a good deal or otherwise. For project guitars, the budget is a little more difficult because you need to take into consideration the upgrades you're going to do, which you won't truly know about until you actually find the listing you want, and you can kind of go from there. Finally, after that's all done, you want to look into either local pickup of the guitar or shipping. Shipping will add more cost to it, and local pickup has its own little nuances to it that we'll discuss at the very end of the video. So, you've decided what you're looking for. Now it's time to go hunting, and the two apps we're going to be reviewing today are Facebook Marketplace and Reverb. There's other places like Craigslist, eBay, Let It Go, Mercury, all of those apps that, you can buy used things on. I've used them a little bit, but mainly the sources I've seen, and the ones I've used myself, are Facebook Marketplace and Reverb. The one I always kind of prefer is Reverb, mostly because it's a dedicated site to selling used gear and guitars. The people there are generally knowledgeable and easy to message. The price tracker I mentioned before is built into the site, so you can see how guitars have changed in price throughout the years. And it's just generally a safer option since, it's Reverb, they're a little more on their game. On top of that, there are issues with Reverb, of course. For example, there is a Reverb fee when you buy things through Reverb, which sucks. It adds a little bit of percentage to the end and increases your budget. And typically, if you're searching on Reverb, it's less likely that you'll find something in your area. It's still likely, you can still search by, local pickup in your area, but more than not, you're going to buy a guitar that you have to have shipped to you. On the flip side of that, Facebook Marketplace typically is more local listings, things that you'll find in your area. However, the site's hit or miss when it comes to the people on there. Some of them could just be, they found a guitar in their attic, they don't know what they have, they're trying to get rid of it, and someone told them they can get a price, and they'll say crazy on that. Or there's more scammers, or someone who's just trying to make a quick buck by using the app. Going back to this example, this is what the listing looked like. I'm going to show it on screen now. So this is what the listing on Facebook looked like. However, as you can see, the guitar does not look like that. There's paint chips everywhere. The nut is not glued down and cut weirdly. So you have to be kind of careful. Now then, you found your listing on one of those websites, either Reverb, Facebook Marketplace, Let It Go, I think that. The next step is to message the seller, and I always recommend messaging the seller asking for photos of specific parts of the guitar. This does two things. One, it avoids them using older photos to try and trick you, like the example I just showed you, and it confirms any catastrophic issues that they're not posting on the listing. Now, when I say catastrophic issues, what do I mean? Well, what I typically do is whenever I'm looking at a guitar, if I'm interested, first thing I do is I ask for photos of the neck joint, which is the areas, here and here, and I ask for a headstock photo of the front and the back. So the front of the headstock and the back. Now, this does two things. One, it gets me the updated photo, so I know what I'm looking at. And two, it helps me determine if there's any cracking along the neck joint, which is never a good thing. And it helps me determine if there are any cracks in the headstock, which on guitars like this, that have a bent headstock, is pretty common, unfortunately. You have to consider that when you're negotiating price later on, but it's definitely something to keep an eye out for. Getting a photo of the back of the headstock also does one more thing. It gives you the serial number of the guitar itself. Now, unfortunately, thievery is a thing and scams are a thing. So by getting the serial number of the guitar, you could check it with databases online to determine if the guitar has been stolen. So it's always good if you feel sketched out or you're not sure about something, find the serial number of the guitar, check it real quick, it takes 2 seconds. Your local guitar store could check for you usually if you have trouble checking it. But yeah, you want to get some more photos, this way you're not buying a guitar that's all dinged up. Again, I bought this guitar as a project guitar, so I expected it myself to repaint it, fill in some wood gaps and all of that. Now, once you've confirmed that the guitar you're looking to buy looks good, you confirm the serial number if you want to go that route, and you're okay with any defects in the body or the woods, now it's time to start discussing the final parts of it. And that includes the final price and how you're going to get the guitar. Now, when you're discussing the final price and negotiating for it, again, you want to have that budget in mind. If you're buying a project guitar, maybe price out how much you'll spend on all the parts that you need to install in there, and come back and try and understand with the person, what you're doing with. I'll typically throw out an offer, maybe, whatever it is, and the guy will play with it a bit, say, oh, maybe we'll do $10 over that, or $10, maybe I'll cover the shipping. Just kind of figure out what works for you. And again, do not be afraid to walk away from a deal. If a deal is not going well and you don't feel like you're getting the deal you want, there's no rush. Just step back, try something else. On top of that, if things feel sort of sketchy, if you're talking to the person and something doesn't feel right, again, you can also feel free to just leave the conversation. By talking to the person, you're not locking in a sale, you're just trying to confirm the last bits of it. Price negotiations can be a little interesting. Depends on the person and depends on the situation. That's why I usually like to start with asking questions about the guitar and getting images. This way, you've built a rapport with the person, and then from there, it's a little easier to negotiate, as opposed to just saying, hi, this is available, can you do $40 off? It doesn't really give the best image of it all. So, now that you've locked everything in, and you're all set, and you've got your price, and you've got your images, you're sure this is the guitar you want, now it's time to get the guitar itself. Now, if you're doing the shipping route, all you gotta do is say, okay, pay the fee, however it is, and it gets shipped to you. Whenever you do shipping, I always recommend asking for a tracking number or some way of tracking the guitar as it transports. If this costs more, it's worth it, just so you have a record of that. It's also worth it, if you're going this route, to have a record of the final negotiated price in text. For example, just before shipping, ask them, hey, just to make sure, is this price the final price we're going to go with? And if they say yes, if there's any sort of rollbacks or any issues with the pricing, you have in text the person agreed to that price. Now, if you're doing a local pickup, that's where things get a little more interesting. I always recommend doing grocery store parking lots or public parks or areas, and I always recommend meeting during the day if you can. Nights can be a little sketchy, but you typically want to meet in somewhere that is public, so this way nothing can happen. Especially if you're paying in cash, especially if you're paying a lot of cash. You really want to be safe with that. If the situation arises where you can't meet in public, but you still want the guitar and you want to go for it, and they say, oh, just come to my house, be safe, use your common sense. I don't recommend entering the home. Some people I've purchased from the past have said, oh, just come on in, you can test the guitar out, and then go from there. just say, if you just bring it to the door, I can take a look at it and it's fine, and kind of do all of that. I do recommend, if you do have it, you can buy one of these mini amplifiers and just bring a cable. You can test the guitar right there. Bring a guitar strap as well. Nice and easy. But you typically don't want to go into a home. That's where things can get a little weird. It always feels kind of sketchy to me. One other thing to do that's very important, if you really don't feel safe, you could bring a friend with you. This way you have backup in case something happens. Or you could tell a friend that you're going to meet at a place, at a time. This way someone knows where you are in case something does happen. Again, just use your common sense here and be safe. You are meeting a stranger on the internet with a bunch of money to make a sale. So use your best judgment here and be completely safe if you can. Also, if you're going the friend route and telling a friend where you're going to be, also make sure to confirm with them when the sale is over and you are back home safe with the guitar. So that's the process. From finding the guitar all the way to buying it and loving it, that is how you do this. However, there is another way of getting guitars that I have not mentioned because I have no experience with this, and that is trading. Now, guitarists love guitars, and we tend to have many. So, to keep our collection growing and finding new things, we will trade older guitars that we have for other guitars. Now, again, I have no experience with this, like I've said, but my good friend Hector, who is joining us today on the video, has great experience with trading and been doing this for quite a while. So, I'm going to hand it over to him to discuss this whole aspect. Again, if you really enjoy the way he speaks and the way he is, he's a fantastic musician, absolutely amazing person. Check out his live streams on Twitch. All of the links for that will be in the description and in the top left of the video. So, Hector, take it away, my dude.
Hello everybody, my name is Hector, and I'm going to be going over a couple of tips and tricks on how to get the most value out of your trades and how to trade successfully. So for the most part, the whole process of trading is going to be very similar to buying used gear. You're going to do all the exact same steps as you did for locating the gear that you want as you would as buying the gear. The only thing that's going to be different is the fact that you're going to be offering gear as well. So that means you're going to want to make sure you disclose everything about the gear that you possibly can. Just as if you were looking at gear, you would want to know everything about it as well. When you're posting and offering your trades, make sure if there's anything wrong with your guitar, if there's any scratches or anything, you just let the person know. So that way there's no reason for the person to try to negotiate out any cash from you or anything else on top of your trade or theirs. Now, to get the best value that you can out of your trade, what I would recommend is cleaning your guitar as much as possible. The more new it looks, the more value it has. The nicer it looks, the more people will be willing to trade with you. Let's say you have this guitar, and I'm going to make sure I put some nasty fingerprints on it, and it's going to make it look dirty and dingy. It doesn't look very nice. You're not going to be as interested in it. But if I were to take a microfiber cloth and simply rub the guitar down and clean off all those fingerprints, suddenly the guitar is a bit more appealing now. So that can help you very much get a higher value out of your guitar, just simply cleaning it and making sure it looks nice. The next thing you can do if you really want to restore the guitar and get the most possible value out of it is making sure you polish and restore the finish. Now what you can do for a lot of these finishes is you can buy automotive polish for like car paint polish. You can use that to go ahead and take out a bunch of any of the little scratches and swirl marks on your guitars and basically make it look like it was freshly painted and brand new. That will bring your guitar to almost basically brand new value. You can do that to trade for other guitars of higher value basically. And when you're doing your trades, you want to make sure you look for stuff within about the same monetary value as the gear you're offering. You're never going to go in and offer to trade this guitar pick for a guitar. And unfortunately, it's just never going to happen. So what you're going to do is you're going to go ahead and find the value of your guitar by either just Googling it and seeing what the for sale prices are right now, or for a more accurate representation, you can go onto Reverb, search up your gear, like whatever gear you're offering, and then go on to sold listings only under the filters, and it'll show you what your guitar or gear has recently sold for. That'll give you a more exact estimate of what your guitar is actually worth, because asking prices and sale prices are two completely different things. Anyone can ask whatever they want, but what are people willing to pay for it is what your guitar is really worth. Along with trading guitars also comes bartering. Bartering is taking something of a lower value and trading it up until you get to something of a higher value. For example, something I did over the course of about a year is I bought a very beat up $30 P bass from Facebook Market. I took it, and because I knew it was going to be a project and I knew I was capable of restoring it, I restored the guitar and brought that value back up from about $30 of what I purchased it for to about $300. So I took that, I used that in a trade to get another project guitar, roughly worth about $300 as the condition was, restored it, brought that back up to about $400 to $500 worth. Took that guitar and did the exact same thing over and over again until I reached the point where I was able to trade it for this Strandberg style headless guitar. Now, if I didn't do all that process, I would have had to pay about $800 to $900 for this guitar. But luckily, I was only able to spend $30 because I was able to put in the work to restore project guitars and trade them up. Now, I know that is not for everybody. Some people do not have the patience for it. Some people do not have the capabilities of restoring a guitar. But something I would very recommend is if you do have the capabilities to do so, Google it, YouTube it, find out how to do it, and you will be able to successfully barter up in value. The only thing is you have to be very patient. Like I said, this took me over the course of a year, and I was stuck with a couple of gear pieces that I wasn't really fond of, but I knew the value was there and I was able to use it to get something I truly wanted. Other than that, there isn't much else to say. Everything else kind of goes along the lines of buying used gear. The only best tips and tricks, like I said, was just to make sure you disclose everything as possible as if you were trying to buy the guitar. You would want to know everything about it as you can. And on top of that, make sure the guitar is as restored as you can possibly get it, and make it look as nice as you possibly can. Make sure you have very well lit photos of any little defects or anything, and you will have a good time trading. Now I'm gonna go ahead and hand it back to Wahoo. Before I do that, if you guys enjoyed me, you guys want any other tips and tricks on how to do stuff or repair guitars, I also do music streams from drums and guitar and bass. I stream every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday on Twitch. So if you guys would like to check me out, it is twitch.tv/HectorStar6. I'm going to hand you guys back to Waffle so he can end the video with you guys. Thank you so much.
So with that, we have covered a good majority of what you need to know when buying a guitar on the used market. If this helped you at all, feel free to drop a like, a sub, and leave a comment saying it helped you. Also, if you have any fun stories about weird used guitars you've picked up, or some situation you've had when buying used guitars, also put in the comments. It'd be kind of fun to hear. Or you can tell me live on stream. I stream 3 days a week at the URL right here. Editing Jake, put the URL right here. Don't not above me. Put it right here. Twitch.tv/WaffleDragon34. You can see me there 3 days a week, and I'd love to hear some stories from you. Anyway, everyone, I hope this video was helpful. Have a good day, and I will see you all in the next one. Goodbye.